What's up, and welcome back to episode 3 of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with the Black and Gold Productions LLC. Today's a good episode. I know we're in the dog days of the summer right now, dog days of hockey off season, but as always, I'm here alongside my host, Chris Davis. And Chris, I know you were at development camp for the Bruins all last week. You got some awesome content for the account. You got some awesome interviews with some big guys down there. And just tell me about that time you had down there. How was your week?
Yeah, it was unbelievable experience. Sit there and watch hockey all week. It just was unbelievable experience. The people that I met, just the amount of knowledge that was in, whether it was the media members and just talking to the players, the humbleness of the players and just how excited they were to be there. It was really, I'm really excited about this young group coming up. Just saw a lot of good hockey and like I said, really excited about this young group.
Yeah, man. It's like people always talk how the Bruins have a really low ranked prospect system. But if you look at the younger players that the Boston Bruins have, Matthew Poitras, Brett Harrison, Mason Lohrei, Fabian Lysell, I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple, Georgi Merkulov. They got a good system. They got these young guys who I think have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because of how low the system is ranked too. Like they're not bad players at all. They're all future NHLers.
Yeah, I think so. Not to take anything away from these rankings. Obviously, those rankings are made by a lot of knowledgeable insiders, scouts, etc. And I just think it's more about the eye test for me.
Yep.
And there were a lot of players, especially during the scrimmage. One thing I'll say is it's very hard to evaluate players solely based on practice setting. Most of the time, you're just seeing edge work done, one-on-ones, two-on-ones. So it wasn't until Friday when the scrimmage started, you started seeing a little more aggressiveness. Most notably, I saw Fabian Lysell, and Jackson Edward go at it pretty good.
Yep.
And like I said, it turned on that competitive. And I had asked Matthew Poitras what it was like having that practice setting all week and then finally being able to translate that into scrimmage. And you go back and watch the interview. He was really excited about it. It kicks up the speed a little bit. And that's when you were really able to evaluate these players. And I saw a lot of really good things from a lot of the kids out there.
Yeah, dude. And you mentioned Jackson Edward and Fabian Lysell kind of going at it a little. Talk about two guys who have a chip on their shoulder. I know Lysell plays with a little bit of an edge to his game, and that's something that not a lot of people notice. Or maybe not notice, but they haven't realized that yet. He does play with he's a little agitator out there sometimes, but he's got that skill too. And Jackson Edward, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a 7th round pick in 2022. And last year at development camp, he stood out too. I had the opportunity to go last year. And as a first-year player at development camp for Jackson Edward, he stood out a lot. And he's another guy too who plays with that physicality. He's that kind of stay-at-home defenseman who can bruise people up, clear the net, and he's another one of those guys who might sneak up that prospect ranking and find his way in a Boston Bruin jersey somewhere in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's actually one of the ones that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Watching his skating, and where I saw him most was him being like a stay-at-home defender.
Yep.
Obviously, he's a big boy at 6'3", 188. I think he has room to put some weight on, obviously. And you had mentioned, he was a 7th round pick, 200 overall. He was one of the ones that really stood out to me. Even just on the 2-on-1 drills, phenomenal edge work as well. I was really impressed by it. And he's one, like you said, that I think is going to climb up these rankings. The more experience. I know he's going to be, I don't quote me on this. I believe he's going back to London to play for the Knights.
I believe so.
I could be completely wrong. I think he would benefit from another year in junior. But yeah, he had a little bite to his game too. I mean, you mentioned Lysell plays plays on that edge, but he fought right back, and it was good to see that competitive nature finally. We've been out of hockey for a little while now since the Bruins season, but so it's good to see a little bit of chippiness. But yeah, I was really impressed by him. I actually have him on my list as one of the ones that really impressed me.
Yeah, you mentioned it's been a while since live hockey, dude. So like just getting that itch kind of and
Exactly,
going
man.
down to dev camp, dude, seeing
I
it
was
live.
getting all amped up. I thought they were gonna drop the mitts.
Yeah.
So,
Shameless plug.
right.
Yeah, dude. And a lot of the obviously it goes without saying, but the Bruins are lacking center depth right now, and it goes to show with their free agent signings. I mean, they just signed Jesper Bachfist. They have these guys coming up, so the guys in dev camp, Brett Harrison, Matthew Poitras. How did they look to you? What stood out in their game?
I think the biggest thing for me in watching Poitras first off was his creativity. Just the way that he sees the ice. It looks like when he was out there, it looked like he was 2-3 steps ahead of everyone. He had amazing chemistry with Cole Spicer. Watching them throughout the week, they just had this chemistry. And once the scrimmage started, you really noticed that they just kind of knew where each other were going to be. And just the way that he saw the ice, very responsible in his own zone as well. I was really impressed. And, I got torched on Twitter for saying that he could be – I very well could see him getting some minutes in Boston this year. I don't think it's completely unrealistic. I know people want to see him develop and whatever. I just really think that he could benefit if Patrice Bergeron comes back, some mentorship from him. I mean, like I said – the one thing I noticed was how responsible he was in his own zone, and then just his creativity and the way he saw the ice. Going to Brett Harrison, I was really impressed by his shot. He had a fucking cannon, dude.
Yeah.
And it just I'm really high on Brett too. I think that I'm really thinking this year he's going to take his game to the next level. I think he's going to score a lot of goals this year. Like I said,
in terms of Brett Harrison, right? So our friend Dom Tiano, he mentioned that the one problem that he has with Harrison is his lack of physicality. Like he tends to shy away from hits, shy away from battles in the corner. Did you see any of that down at Dev Camp?
I don't disagree with Dom. I actually think he pretty much hit the nail on the head on that one. It was hard. It's hard to gauge physicality at a development camp. It wasn't something that stood out to me that he was physical. I'd have to see more in-game stuff this year to actually judge. But yeah, to go back to Dom's point, no, I completely agree. The way that Brett Harrison played last year, yeah, he definitely lacked that physicality in his game. I'm hoping this year, I mean, it looks like he's put on some weight and he's gotten bigger. That's one thing I'd like to see out of Brett this year is just a little more physical in front of the net. And I think I'm hoping he really steps up in that aspect.
Yeah, well, the thing is with him too, he's not a small guy. He's 6'2", and like you said, it looked like he put on a little bit of weight. Like right now, Elite Prospects has his weight at 185. So 6'2", 185, that's not a small man. That's a big man who should be going into the corners, should be battling, should be fighting in front of the net for, positioning and space and really throwing his weight around a little bit. So if he can incorporate that into his game a little bit more, because like you said, he's got a cannon of a shot. All the offensive instincts are there. Defensively, he's good. It's just that physical aspect. When you translate your game from juniors or from the AHL to the NHL, you need to have at least some brand of physicality to your game. You have to. Otherwise, you won't survive.
Yeah, I completely agree. One thing that people got to remember, though, are these kids are 20 years old.
Right.
They, and I think people still have to remember that. They're still coming into their own. There's still time for development. I see no reason why Brett Harrison doesn't become this physical power forward. I think he has all the tools to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's one thing. It's easy to forget that they are 20 years old. They are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yes,
That,
literal like children.
yeah, like, there's still plenty of time, and I loved everything I saw out of Brett Harrison, and I think he takes that next step. I think he makes the jump this year, and I think he's going to have a phenomenal season.
Yeah, he's playing in Providence this year, correct? He's not going back to juniors.
Correct.
Yeah, see, so Providence is going to be, keep your eye on Providence. There's a lot of guys. Lowry, we haven't even talked about Lowry yet, but I know there's been discussions about him maybe jumping into the top 6 for the Bruins, maybe not. Obviously, he looked good in dev camp, correct? He was moving along, he was skating with the guys, keeping up. I don't know if he has a role with the Bruins yet, or if he's going to go down to Providence and develop, and if he explodes, then potentially come up to Boston.
I for sure think he starts the year. There's actually no doubt in my mind that he doesn't start the year in Providence, and I think it's the right move for him. They just signed him last year at Ohio State, and I think he needs to get reps. I think he needs to get ice time at the pro level in the AHL before he makes any kind of moves to the NHL. With that being said, again, I just was evaluating edge work and shooting and 2-on-1. So I obviously loved everything that I saw out of the scrimmage. I mean, he was one that really stood out, the way that he can single-handedly break the puck out of the zone on his own.
Yeah.
His skating ability. He's just a smooth skater. Just great vision. But like I said, I still think that he starts the year in Providence. I would not be shocked if we talked about Patois as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Lowry saw some reps at the NHL level. For me, I'd love to see him paired with a defenseman like Brandon Carlo.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where I see him thriving. Obviously, with Carlo being primarily a stay-at-home defenseman, it kind of would give Lowry that freedom to break the puck out, have that offensive mind, and still have Carlo to kind of back him up. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think it speaks volumes in terms of that the Bruins haven't moved, another defenseman. I think their plan is to roll Lowry in Providence and get him those reps and get those pro level reps, like you were just saying. Let his game develop, let him thrive in Providence, and kind of gain his confidence too. If he goes down to Providence and he starts lighting it up, then that is phenomenal news for the Bruins and the organization itself, because not only is this kid succeeding in his first year in the AHL, but he's also gaining that confidence of, okay, I'm ready to take this next step. I'm proving to myself and everybody in this organization right now that I can do it at this level. And when that opportunity comes for me to play in Boston, that I already have that confidence with me and I can take that into the game. He's not, starting game 1 in Boston. He's got nerves. Maybe he's a little shaky, but if he has that confidence, with him coming from Providence, then that's only going to benefit his game even more.
Yeah, I completely agree. Not to change the subject completely, but there were also a couple other defensemen that participated in development camp that also caught my eye. First one being Ty Gallagher, man. He from BU, just the way that he saw the ice and just his skating, phenomenal hands. I mean, I know he's going back to BU this year, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I got the chance to talk to him, just how humble of a kid he is, just how good of a leader he was. He talked about his time playing with Lane Hutson.
Yep.
Obviously, we know Lane Hutson is dynamic, electric player and had nothing but good things to say to him, about him rather. And it just kind of speaks volumes to Ty's leadership. And I think he's another one that's going to be climbing up the Bruins prospect draft ranking board.
Yeah.
He was one that really stood out to me. It's just, like I said, his skating, the way that he saw the ice. He had phenomenal hands on the 3-on-3 drills on Friday. Every single time he was out there, he was making plays, just seeing the ice so well, and it just looked like he was another one where he was 2 and 3 steps ahead Yeah, another kid, not to just kind of.
Well, speaking, so Ty Gallagher too, like Jackson Edward, another 7th round pick from the Bruins as well. He
Yeah,
was 2021 7th round, 217 overall. I mean, that's great value in that late of the round to
yeah,
pick up a guy like Ty.
yeah, and honestly, with him playing at BU and with how loaded Hockey East is going to be this year, I'm really excited for him to get those reps and to play against this type of competition.
Yeah,
I mean, we know BC is going to be absolutely loaded this year, and I just think it's going to be really good for him to take that next step to get those reps. And again, he's another one that he's climbing up my rankings.
yeah. I mean, and you're playing, um, around guys like, I mean, their team, like you said, they're loaded. Jack Dempsey, Trevor Kuntar, Carter Gauthier, Oscar Yelvik. I mean, Andre Gassow. Their team is loaded, and just having a guy like Ty Gallagher be surrounded by talent like that is only going to help his development. And like you said, Hockey East is loaded this year. I can't wait to watch all these college games. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and you brought up Trevor Kuntar. He was injured during the week. I believe he's going to be playing for Providence. I think he signed a contract at the end of last season.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But even so, you talk about that BC team. They just got 3 first-round picks that are coming in as a line. Will Smith, who got drafted by the Sharks.
Yep.
Gabe Perreault, who's going to the Rangers. And then Ryan Leonard, who went 8th overall to Washington. They're all going into BC. It's going to be dynamic for Hockey East and for college hockey as a whole to see those kids. It's just, I'm so excited for the season, and it's going to be unreal.
Yeah, it's going to be if you're a hockey fan listening to this and you haven't really been keeping up with college hockey, NCAA hockey, whatever, this is the year to do it. This Hockey East is loaded.
Yeah, you're seeing more and more kids deciding to go back to school. Most notably, just to name a few names, like Cutter Gauthier, 5th overall last year, to Philly. He decided that he was going to go back to school and gun for a national championship. And then you also Logan Cooley, 3rd overall to Arizona. He decided he wanted to go back to school, and good for him. I mean, it's going to be an unreal year for college hockey, and it's going to be entertaining games night in and night out.
Yeah. I'm pumped. I can't wait. Let's see what. So, trying to think here.
We're still starstruck over our interview.
I know, dude. Should we mention who we have on?
Yeah, we can. I mean, we're kind of wrapping up here. I think it's a pretty good place to end. I mean, obviously, I have all my interviews up on my Twitter, so you can go check those out. We have Riley Duran, Matthew Poitras, Ethan Ritchie, and Cole Spicer, as well as Mason Lowry. So those are all really good interviews that you guys should go check those out.
Yeah, that's on the Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast Twitter. So definitely go look at those, check them out.
Yeah, and so coming up, we're really excited to bring you Billy Jaffe, interview with him. Just an unreal guy, super humble. He's the NESN studio analyst for the Boston Bruins pregame, postgame, and intermission coverage, as well as the studio analyst for NHL Network and the host of Morning Brew with Bruins legend Andrew Raycroft. So yeah, we're really excited to bring you guys this, and hope you enjoy. Thank you, guys. Sullivan, and with us we have a really special guest, NESN studio analyst for the Bruins pregame, postgame, and intermission coverage, as well as studio analyst for NHL Network, and also the host of Morning Brew podcast with Andrew Raycroft, Billy Jaffe. Billy, how you doing, man?
I'm well. Thank you for the official introduction. It's unbelievable. Yes. What's going to happen when fighting isn't happening in hockey anymore? You're going to be, they used to drop the mitts podcast. What are you going to do?
Well, we're hoping that never goes away. And yeah, we'll be out of business at that point. We'll have to get a little more creative with it.
They used to drop the mitts. That's what we can do. How you guys doing? What's happening?
Doing well. Really happy to have you. I think this is going to be an awesome episode. Got a lot to get to. I know, first and foremost, I want to give you a huge thanks, as well as Ryan Corbin and Andrew, for being such huge advocates of the Stop Soldier Suicide fundraiser that I ran. You guys were awesome in spreading the information. We raised almost $6,000, and like I said, I just want to give you guys a huge shout out and tell you how grateful I am for all you guys.
Yeah. Hey, our pleasure. And that really is RC, who's the one who brought it to our attention. And, I'm a big fan of RC's. And Ryan, if people don't know, Ryan is the producer of Morning Brew. Awesome. He's a battle veteran. He understands, nothing I could ever understand, and so I've also been involved over the years with a group called Skate for the 22 that used hockey as a way to reacclimate veterans into normal, society, and by the use of hockey. And lately they haven't been doing much on the ice, but they had a 5, 6, 7-year run, guys, where they were really, really active, and I thought very important. I got to know Bobby. The gentleman's name was Bobby Colton there. Got to know him well, and I got very involved with the group. So it means a lot to me. It's what very little I can do. And having, been involved in hockey just about my entire life, if there's any good that can come out of it, besides, I guess, feeding my family, now it's if I can help somebody else, like we can help somebody else like that, I'm very happy doing. So our pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I know we have a bunch of questions to get to.
Oh boy.
I know. Yeah, I know. Boy.
I know
Mike a couple good ones. You want to dive into that?
Oh boy. All right. Let me get the back situated, and I'll start leaning back here. All right.
Actually, I wanted to ask you how your off season's going. I know you had mentioned you just had.
I just had my hip replaced, and it's going awesome in that regard. That needed it replaced. My off season didn't begin until after Game 5 of the Stanley Cup. I worked through the Cup. Unfortunately, no Bruins involvement, but fortunately, from a business perspective, I get set up with NHL Network and a company by the name of Sports USA, Chris and Mike. That Sports USA is the national radio home for the NHL. And so I end up working for both entities through the Stanley Cup. It keeps me real busy. So I get mid-June, I get back home. I knew that I had about 10 days before my surgery. I couldn't wait. My hip had been excruciating pain for a while. And then I had hip surgery June 30th. And so we're sitting and recording this on almost 2 weeks to the day. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks. That's been my off season, really, guys. I mean, I've got to be honest, I've been bored as shit since I had the surgery. I've read the internet a few times. I should be smart and open a real book. That would be something different. But I'm just trying to get better, rehabbing, hanging out, spending time with my Cooper, the wonder dog. And it's about it, guys. But you know what? I mean, listen, I always have a good time after the season, the retrospective of the season, the satisfaction of working a full season is always there. I don't know where we want to go with this, but the disappointment of the Bruins' demise was real. I'm still bummed for them, and for everybody, in that regard.
Yeah, I think with expectations being so high, how crazy of a season it was, how much they dominated it, just the way that it ended is just you can't even put it into words. And now we're looking at this roster for this upcoming season, and it's nowhere near what we were working with last year. So, what are your expectations going into this upcoming season, and where do you see this team finishing? Yeah.
I mean, my expectations are is that they make the playoffs. My expectations are that if they don't put themselves into a playoff position, that they'll sell off any assets that they can. But I do think that they're good enough defensively in goal and even up front. Let's see what happens with Patrice. I still have no feel on that, none. That I think that they can get in. Is that good enough? For a lot of people, no. But for them, that might be what they're satisfied with, and they might be saying, "Look, first of all, we can make deals at the deadline. Second of all, we can make some big deals at the deadline because we've got big cap space coming next year."
Yeah.
So maybe we can make certain moves that will allow us to bring in other players and extend them, et cetera. I mean, we're playing a who knows, could, would, should type game. But my expectation sitting here with you right now on this date, July 13th, is that they make the playoffs. After that, I don't know. But you know what? We had such high expectations that they win the whole damn thing last year, and they didn't.
Right.
It really doesn't it make you question everything that you think you know as a hockey analyst or as a hockey fan? I mean, that's the other thing.
It really reinforces the thought that that any team can win. All you have to do is get into one of those 8 playoff spots. And
except
then,
Vegas was better. Vegas
correct.
was a great team.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you guys agree?
100%. Coached by a great
team.
coach as well.
Yeah.
Right coach for the right time for the right team. That's what that was right there. Thrilled for Bruce. Thrilled for him, and because he did the job, but he did a beautiful job with the Bruins, and in particular early on too. He helped to elevate them to levels that many people didn't think that they would too. So good for him. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. But yes, you're right. Get in, see what can happen. But you know, NHL playoffs are funny. They are a funny beast.
I know. So I know you covered a lot of the Vegas, like you said, the Stanley Cup run. What was that environment like? I know fairly new franchise. What was that environment like? What were the fans like? Obviously, from the TV, it just looked like an absolutely electric building. What was it like being there and covering that?
It was great. It was an electric building. I'm an old fart, so I'm going to get. I won't yell at you to get off my lawn, but I'll say this: all buildings now are pumping artificial, between the noise and the music and everything. It's these high decibel levels. The fans were awesome. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but then you do wonder at times. I mean, literally, the PA guy is yelling at you. I mean, yelling at you, would yell at one of my kids. I kid, kind of. But I mean, just yelling at it. And it was still an awesome atmosphere. And the fans couldn't have been more. I mean, these are mostly locals out there or people that adopted the Golden Knights as their favorite. And so I look at these are legit fans, fellas, right?
Right.
And that was wonderful. The passion was real. I mean, I went to practice one day up in their practice facility in Summerlin, and they had to cut it off because there were already 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. I don't remember what they were allowed in the build. That was it. So it's awesome, legit. With that said, you could feel that it was there was some signs for them in town. There was a vibe for them, but it's Vegas, for Christ's sake. You're never going to feel like it's the greatest, biggest, only thing in the world. Kind of felt that way down in Florida too. I will give their fans credit, and the town of Fort Lauderdale had some more signs up and stuff, but I don't know. There's something about a certain type of city where, you're in Boston, you're in Chicago, we were in Colorado last year and they had signs all around the arena and everything. And they had it going, but long way of saying this, it was legit, Chris. It was. I'm not taking a thing away from them, but you're in this little Vegas. Everything about Vegas is one little niche. It's one little. You go here to this hotel for this. You go to this hotel. You go to this. My point is, you can find whatever you want in Vegas, right? They had a little thing going on called the Stanley Cup while everything else was going on too. But it's Vegas, so it's fun.
Right, I definitely see what you're saying. Like even without the Stanley Cup being there, it's just an always buzzing season.
Different,
always buzzing there, and I think. I can remember from the 2011 run with the Bruins, it was an energy in the city that there was nothing like it. It was just so electric. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, but
it's just different. And listen, they are great fans and they treated it with respect. Put it that way. I didn't, these are most of the fans I felt in the building had been there since day one. That's awesome, right? Yeah. Only 6 years, but that's awesome. That's legit. And so you really appreciate that. But the overall sense of it, you could have you could go to a lot of different places, the 5 or 6 days that we were there, and probably could have asked 10 people, and I'm going to guess 6 or 7 didn't know that the cup was going up. That's not, again, a negative. It's just reality there. You have people coming from all over the world for that. Now, again, you go to certain other cities. Pittsburgh comes to mind. Obviously, I already said Chicago. We already know Boston. There's a bunch of cities where if you went during the cup, as you said, the buzz would tell you that that's the cup.
Right.
Yeah. So Billy, so you've been with NESN for a very long time. You've seen a lot of different eras of Bruins hockey. Obviously the 2011 season, the early teens, 2013 with the team that lost to Chicago. But I was just curious if you have any favorite memories from NESN, from working with NESN, with Dale Arnold, now with Andrew Raycroft. If you have a memory that really sticks out to you.
Well, I love working with those guys. I have. I've really, and I worked so much with, you mentioned Dale, Razor, Barry. Those are the main guys. And now Sophia's involved. But in particular, those other guys for so long. Dear friends and people that I trust, which is awesome. So kind of a real corny answer. But the memory of knowing that these guys are dear friends of mine has been the best part of this. It has. And that's the way that they accepted me, the way that the fans have accepted me was since the 2011 season. I actually didn't work with NESN for the 10-11 season, but I did cover the cup all the way through the 11 season because I was with the NHL Network all the way through, and I did everything for the Bruins. In fact, I think I did at least 2, if not 3 rounds specifically for the Bruins. So, but specific memories, it's hard not to, for me, 2013 was great. I was just finishing my second full season. I hadn't moved here yet full time either. I was still traveling all over doing games. I was still living in New York, or my family was. I was all over. So it was a great memory. I know they lost. The whole Chicago thing stands out in my mind still, but 19 even more so because we had lived here then full time 6 years. We were really established my family was established in community and everything. And just some of those games leading up to the final. Of course, Game 7 is awful memory as you have.
Not fun to look back on.
Yeah. So from moments, I would say that from personal moments, just doing. Honestly, that we laugh our asses off an awful lot. And I know it's a bad answer, Mike. I'm sorry, but like. Any one I don't have, but there's been so many games where you leave there having laughed so much that you're saying to yourself, "This is fun work." But I love thinking of some of the pasta games. I like thinking of multiple goals. The Bergeron line when it was Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand flying around like nobody was defending them, like it was practice. Great memories. I'm going to think of one. I can tell you one of the real highlights of my career as a broadcaster involved in Bruins. It was 2011. I got an opportunity. It was 11. I've had a few opportunities via the NHL Network. I had a long sit down with Bobby Orr. I had met Bobby a little, but didn't know him. And now that I was part of the Bruins process or program, so to speak, Bobby was unbelievable. And it was supposed to be a 10 or 15 minute sit down, and he just kept going. And we went for 25 minutes, and it was Kid in the Candy Store. Honest to God, it was unbelievable. And it was a moment of like, I'm rarely like this, like where I just had to sit there and say, that was unbelievable. Like I was a little kid again. It transformed me to that. And he did that. And I've had another great, I've gotten to sit down and chat both on and off the air with Ray Bork an awful lot. We did a big sit down with him at his restaurant, Tresca, in 2019. Those are wonderful moments because you get to spend more time with guys like that. And those are guys that, I knew a little bit of Bobby Orr as a player because I was just young enough, but I knew a ton about Ray Bork. And, that was huge for me. And it's important to me that I got to know those guys being now part of the Bruins broadcast.
Yeah, sitting down with those guys, I can't speak for myself because I've never been a part of that, but it's almost like a moment where you have to pinch yourself and say, am I really doing this right now? Am I really sitting next to Bobby Orr and just, having a nice conversation with him?
Yeah. It's great. It was real. And then we've become very friendly over the years, meaning, when we see each other, and we've had other opportunities to interview him. I did for his book tour, and we sat down and we ended up talking because I'm very involved in youth hockey in the New England area. And we ended up talking youth hockey for 40 minutes, just bullshit. Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, those are the moments. I mean, the games, quite honestly, I don't remember a lot of the games, but those are the moments that I remember.
Yeah.
Now, was there, talking about the moment meeting, Bob, was there like another certain moment that really jump started your career where you knew like this was it for you, that you were getting big and more popular in the media? Was there a certain moment that happened? Was it that Bobby Orr moment, or was there another moment where?
Well, it's a great question. I've never even thought first of all, I'm saying this honestly, and I don't think I'm that big in the industry. I don't like, there's so many people that are, I'm not a grass is greener guy, but I'm definitely not a thoroughbred, using a horse analogy, I don't think I'm a donkey, although some would argue that I am. Maybe I'm a Clydesdale, they have respect, they work hard,
Right.
but they're workhorses, like literally, they're workhorses. I mean, maybe I am a donkey, come to think of it. I'm a worker. I have to be. So I've never felt that I don't have a 5-year or, a 2-year NHL background that I can say that I can fall back on. I just don't. So I do have a chip on my shoulder. I have, and I always will, Chris, as long as I'm doing this. I have to work harder than the next guy, next person, because if I don't, truth is, I don't know if I've done enough that people are just going to keep me. I hope they do, but my work ethic, and hopefully enough people enjoy me on the air that they're going to remain. That's the way I feel of it. Now, have there been moments? Sure. Opportunities to work big events is always something. Winter Classics, Stanley Cups. I started working Stanley Cups for, it used to be Westwood One, so the national radio again. I started getting those opportunities. I'm going to say going back to 16 and 17, and then start doing a lot of them. I've worked. I started working playoffs regularly. I don't. You guys old enough to remember Versus before it became after it was Atlanta? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think maybe when I'd been with Atlanta, and then the Islanders organization, and then I went national, and I did a lot for Versus, and I did a lot for NHL Network, and maybe Chris at that time when they started using me regularly on national stuff in the playoffs. I would work at least through 2 rounds, and then I started working through 3 rounds, and then I started, hey, you know what? Can you do the Stanley Cup? Can you be part of our crew for the Stanley Cup? And then I'm like, okay. Did I sit there and say I made it? No, I can't. I wish I could. I can't. I can't feel that way. But I think those are the things that indicate that you're doing the right stuff.
I think that's what fans love so much about you is, just how humble you are. And I think a lot of them realize how much work it takes and how much work you have to put in, as far as statistics go, like what you need to know to be prepared and to be successful. I think that's why fans can appreciate how humble you are and how good of a job you do.
I hope they do. I mean, I know that I have a way about me. I honestly, I'm saying, not if you're, it's like wine. You might like it one way, Mike,
Right.
you like another way, and you think it's the greatest wine, and Mike is like, yeah, it's okay, or no, it sucks, right? I mean, that's just opinion, right? And
Right.
and you can. I also call it the mushroom effect. I hate mushrooms. I do. I hate them. You guys, like, some people love them, like they're the greatest fungus in the world. Like I can't stand. So it's just an opinion, but I guarantee you there are a lot of people that like me, and I guarantee there's a lot of people that don't like me. I hope there's more that do than don't. I know that I was talking to somebody today just about that. They were asking me some questions, and I said, look, I broadcast hockey for a living for the most part. That's my main gig. If I'm not having fun doing it, legit fun, and I'm not showing that, then shame on me. And if I'm not prepared, then shame on me. So that's all I want to come across on the air. Did I like it or love it? that I'm prepared, that I've respected the opportunity to be on TV. Now, whether you like the way I talk, whether you like the information I bring, whether you think I'm full of shit or I know it, I can't control that. But all I can control is what I brought to my preparation and then my presentation to the air.
Yeah, for sure. You also mentioned your time in Atlanta, with discussions of maybe another expansion team coming to the NHL. What was the atmosphere like in Atlanta when they first got there, their first few years? And do you see it working again, or should the NHL try to go a different route?
It would be very different. I'll work backwards. It will be very different if they go back to Atlanta than it was the first two times. The first two times the arena is in the city, downtown, and it wasn't. It was actually the second arena. The first arena was just the old Omni. The second arena, they basically completely gutted the Omni and redid it. Phillips Arena. I thought it was pretty freaking cool, quite honestly. The atmosphere was very good. However, at that time, they never had great ownership in Atlanta. The first owner being Turner Sports, pretty AOL Time Warner, whatever the name was in, was pretty good. But they did it, and then they moved on from it kind of quickly. And after that, the ownership was never great. And everything starts at the top. For any organization, whether a company you guys work for, a pro sports team, whatever, everything starts at the top. The classic example I always use is, does anybody remember what the Tampa Bay Lightning were before Mr. Vinnick, Jeff Vinnick, owned the team? They were in a shit show because they had Koulis and Barry that owned the team. And remember, they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. They were a mess. Ownership change, he takes it over, and holy smokes, they become one of the great premier franchises, not just in the league, but in sports. Okay. Yes. So Atlanta never really had it with good ownership, especially the second time around, especially after they sold to this one group and called the Spirit. And so if you take all that out, Mikey, and you move the team up to what's called the perimeter, an area that is more suburban, where more people live, where more people are willing to travel to, and more hockey people are. Do you have an opportunity? Yes. Do you have a great opportunity? I don't know. That I don't know yet. There's people involved that are hockey people, and let's see. It's a major market with regard to size, and it has some money in it. It does. Does that guarantee success? No, but I think it gives it better success than certain other markets.
Yeah. Chris, did you have another question? Sorry.
No, not particularly about Atlanta. I was stationed.
It was fun, but by the way, it was a lot of a lot of people went there just to party. There's nothing wrong with that, though, too. But everybody was there, and we never had an opportunity, I say we, when I was part of the franchise, to really establish local fanaticism. Right. Everybody was a fan of somebody else, and this is what Vegas has done so well. They have made it the Vegas team. Right. Dallas made it the Dallas Stars team by building youth hockey arenas around the market. Atlanta never did, and therefore that was it. So sorry, Chris, go on.
I wouldn't hate the fact if Atlanta were to try again. I was stationed in Montgomery, Alabama, and I know every time we got a chance to go out or whatever, it was always in Atlanta. And like you said, Billy, it's just a huge party city, like similar to Vegas. I don't think as crazy, but I mean,
nowhere near as crazy. No.
Yeah, but similar in the aspect of like it's still they party there.
Yeah.
And I just can't see them adopting completely the way that Vegas has a hockey team in Atlanta. I just can't see them doing that, especially with basketball. You got the Atlanta Falcons. I just can't see hockey.
Well, the biggest challenge here is college and high school football. Right. That's really, Chris, that's the biggest. The Falcons, you could probably go there on an 8-8 season and get tickets walking up, 10 minutes before kickoff and be fine. The same thing with the Hawks.
Pro. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The SEC is their professional football.
SEC, then ACC, then Friday night high school. That's what it is.
Absolutely. So transitioning a little bit, Billy, I wanted to ask you, Who are your biggest winners of this offseason as far as teams go, whether it's through the draft, free agency signings? Who are some teams that really stand out to you that
you're making
that
me work now? I mean, you're making me. I'm in off-season mode. I was still on drugs when free agency happened the other night. I was on twice-a-day painkillers. I don't remember much of those days. Let's see. Let me go. I'm curious to see how Buffalo does. They feel to be on the precipice of goodness. I wouldn't say greatness, but goodness. I still don't know if I would call them a for sure playoff team, but adding guy like Connor Clifton, adding an Eric Johnson to already a power and Erasmus Dahlin, and pretty good, right? I mean, it just helps stabilize. Does it make them awesome? I mean, Detroit, geez, they've made a lot of moves, just bringing in DeBrincat. Do I still look at that lineup, though, Chris, and say, for sure, playoff team? No, but definitely on the rise playoff team. No doubt about it. I mean, Tampa and Florida have both done okay stuff. Carolina's been active. They're trying. Don Waddell, former Atlanta Thrasher GM, by the way. There's a connection there. And are they done yet? Who knows? Are they going to get? I mean, I haven't checked today. Has Tarasenko signed anywhere yet? Has he done anything?
Not
Okay.
Not as of before this podcast, anyway.
Okay. Yeah. I checked this morning, and about a few hours ago, I hadn't. I mean, just in general. I'm kind of blanking right now. I'm trying to go over I'm trying to go on teams out west. I mean, Chicago with Bedard, and then they've added Foligno. Couldn't be happier for a guy like Nick to get a nice ticket for another year, and Corey Perry, but they're going to be still pretty bad when it's all said and done. But they'll be better. I guess the team maybe most relevant to our conversation is Toronto. I mean, they ended up getting Bertuzzi almost on I'm going to say almost a fluke, because I don't think they were expecting to getting him, guys. I don't. No freaking way. But they end up getting him, and so good for them. They lose Bunting. They add Bertuzzi. They bring in Reeves. Okay, whatever. Good regular season pickup. Doesn't do that much. I know he's a drop the mitts type of guy, and he's an unbelievable fighter, and I get it. But, is it regular season fun, perhaps? I still look at that group, though, and I say, who's going to play goal and who's going to stop the puck from getting to the goal?
Right.
That's what I say. And what's going to happen with Nylander? That's the other thing. So you ask me these questions. Man, I can talk too long at times, but we still have a long way to go, guys, before the season.
Right.
A long way.
Kind of going off the drop the mitts part with Ryan Reeves. Ryan Reeves and Milan Lucic haven't fought at all in their entire careers. What do you think about the Milan Lucic signing? How is it going to help the Bruins, and does it increase the toughness of that bottom six that we saw lacking in the playoffs? Because I know there's a lot of banter between his game being slow now. Obviously, he's not the same player as he used to be, but I feel like even with those statements being true, he still addresses some parts of the lineup that was lacking.
Look, you can't deny that Milan doesn't have presence. He's just a man mountain. He backs it up if given the opportunity. That's going to be the hard part, Mike. He's not going to be given the opportunity that much.
Right.
Who in their right mind now? Because fighting barely happens, and unless you're a young kid coming up or a guy like Reeves, it's I haven't even gone down that road, that the hockeyfights.com rabbit hole of have they fought, and I appreciate you doing that. I will, though, check your work before I go on the air in late September to make sure it's accurate, Mike. But,
please do.
But I can't see how they don't end up squaring up. I mean, these are the ultimate battleships in the game right now. Does he address overall toughness? He does if he can get his pace going to where it needs to be, and he can become the freight train And knowing that any defenseman, I don't care if it's a first pair, third pair guy that has the possibility of being run over by him, I think he can absolutely help the Bruins. Can he do it enough? I don't know. That's what time will tell. Look, I'm paraphrasing his words. He admitted he's not the same player that he used to be. So let's see what he is. I can appreciate the signing. I love the passion for the player wanting to come back. I do think that I think it's, I'm always preaching to the kids that I coach, have pride in the jersey you're wearing, because you can go play for all these, spring league and summer team bullshit. And you can feel, satisfy your need to win a trophy and blah, 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 and all that stuff. But when you're playing for us 7 or 8 months a year on your real team, you play for this jersey, not for yourself. That's the message that I try to impart on the kids all the time. So you know what? I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say, well, you know what? Milan Lucic wants to wear this jersey. And there's something to be said for that. I mean, really said for that, the pride in the jersey. And that is important. Now, they already have a couple of other guys that are really like that. And I think most players that end up wearing the Spoke B genuinely love it. But he has a different relationship with the sweater in the city than most other people do, given what he went through here. So in that regard, I like it. I hope it works well for him and for the team, because that's going to make it more fun for all of us.
Right. Yeah, as you can see, I was pretty excited for it. I still have the old Lucic jersey behind me, so I could bust that back out of the closet.
Yeah, well, it's like a boy's large over there. Did you get that when you were 9?
It needs some readjusting size-wise, but I'll still be wearing it.
Set out for you a little bit.
Yeah. It's gonna fit you're gonna wear it as a tank top soon.
Crew neck tank top. Yeah. Jeez. So, Billy, I know you had a lot of involvement with the NCAA too, Division I hockey. I have to ask, do you have a way too early Hobie Baker pick for this year?
Yes.
Who do you think national championship? I got to ask you.
Oh my God, I haven't, because of this whole transfer portal stuff and everything. I haven't even started looking at anything or reading a single thing. I can't tell you who went where, who's here, who's there. Truthfully, Chris, I used to be involved a lot more in the NCAA. NESN used to broadcast a lot more. They used to self-produce a lot more of their own games. And in the last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe now, they've gone to a different production, whether it's an outside production crew, Hockey East works in conjunction with somebody, or some universities, for instance, Lowell, Northeastern, promote their own games, right? Produce their own games. So I don't work many of those anymore. I used to work a fair amount of games for NESN, in addition to Beanpod and Hockey's championships. And then I would also hit up ESPN and do a regional for them in their national championships. But it's been a few years now, bud, and I don't do it. So I don't start my look-see into it until pretty much October or September, when we start getting, Hockey East stuff. So, BC and BU are both going to be loaded with young talent, loaded, right? It's going to be awesome. But that doesn't mean they're going to be that good. I think they'll be good, but they're going to win games 7-5, 7-6, which, okay, it's fun. But when it's all said and done, it comes down to the playoffs and 3-2 games, 4-2, 3-2. I don't know how that'll be. Young teams don't always do well. Michigan last year did well. They made it far, but right. And then they had an unbelievable team. Are they going to be as good this year? I can't see it. Even if they recruit and they bring in other blue chips in, but I mean, you're talking about Fantilli and Hughes leaving there. Right. So just can't imagine. So I need to take a look at which team has the most 23-year-old juniors that has guys that play mature hockey, that play disciplined hockey, and that have physically developed more. And I'll tell you what, I'd probably take one of those teams.
Awesome.
Yeah, Billy, kind of transitioning a little bit, but I know you worked during the COVID years, those terrible years, COVID. How hard was it to kind of maintain, a level of professionalism working from abroad, I want to say, working away from the studio? Was it difficult to kind of keep yourself engaged in the mentality of being ready every night for Bruins hockey?
Well, when the Bruins came back, we were able to go in studio. So that was good. We did some stuff like the rest of the world, right, from home.
Mhm.
I did a lot of NHL Network stuff from home. It was the best of a bad situation, right, Mike? Like we all, it you know, the money spigot turned off for a long time for many people, not just me.
Yeah.
But we weren't doing games and everything, and what were we going to do? NESN was great. They were great to work with and did everything they could. And the games come back and we're working. And we were 6 to 8 feet apart. We weren't allowed to sit near each other, so to speak. And even when we were watching the games, it was one person 8 feet to my left and 8 to my right. And in theory, and if somebody encroached, it was, oh my God, the world, stop, and I'm not making fun of it. I'm saying
Right.
that was weird,
Right.
we didn't know what the F was going on. Nobody did.
Right.
Nobody did. So we all did what we had to do. We eventually got back into the arena and they had glass partitions in between us. Things can still travel over the glass as much as, but it was, Mikey, we did what we had to do. That's what it was. No, it wasn't hard. You know why? Because it gave you something to do. You were back doing what you love to do. And, it's always better to be in the game. It's always better to be at the arena to see it. But we couldn't, so we did the best that we could do. I have really no argument about that. No complaints whatsoever. No, I'm not going to even complain. I'm not going to whine and say, oh, it was hard. I was watching everything on TV. So what? The players had no fans in the stands. They had no energy in the building, and they still did it, right? We all did what we had to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris,
one last thing I want to talk to you about, Billy. I want to talk to you about your involvement with youth hockey in the area. Just your involvement, what types of things you're trying to do to grow the game at the youth level. So I just wanted to talk to you about that, and if you wanted to get anything out for our listeners out there.
Yeah, I've just been involved with, I have a son who plays. My daughter doesn't. She's got a beautiful voice and she sings, and that's her specialty, and she loves that end of it. And so she never wanted to play hockey. Okay, my son at first didn't, and then loved it, fell in love with it. So long story short, eventually moving to Boston, and a buddy of mine runs an organization here. And he got me involved with it. At first, I wasn't planning on coaching. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't want to coach. If only because my son and I have a very intense father-son relationship, and I just felt it would be better to not have to be the guy coaching. My buddy, I think it was late July, called me up one day and said, hey, yeah, you're going to have to coach the team. I'm like, what? And he says, yeah, you're coaching. I said, how am I going to make all it? How am I going to be there? And he goes, don't worry, you have some great assistants and you'll love it. I said, I'm not worried about, I'm not going to love it. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about that I'm not going to be able to do it enough, do it, the level the kids deserve. And also I hope I have a relationship with my child by the end of it, because right. I'm not always the most calm and whatever, and I think if you're going to do something, do it the right way. Do it your best of your ability, the right way. So anyway, so I've been involved with the Boston Junior Eagles since my son was 7. He's now, this will be our 7th year, I think, turning 13, or it's 13 already. So it's either 6, 7. I think it's 7th season coming up. And, I just, look, I'm not some kind of, I'm a passionate hockey person who happens to have a child that plays, and I love teaching the game. I do, whether it's to the kids or adults. I teach an adult camp every year. I do the Billy Jaffe Warrior Arena, ice arena hockey, adult hockey camp. It's an awesome week. Still got a few spots left, by the way, end of August, if anybody's interested. It's a great time. And this is the way I treat the kids. I call it, play like the pros with a very big caveat that they were 7 and now they're just 13. But treat them with the respect that that they want, that they don't even know it, and treat them with the expectations that they should have for themselves. And we have an amazing group. We've really seen them grow as kids, most importantly, and as hockey players, second. And I think we won literally one game. No BS. I think one game the first year, and now the team's winning. But the last 2 years have been. Last year was a dream season, accomplishing wise, goal setting wise. Most importantly, though, they were just unbelievable kids. We didn't have really any issues, and we're lucky in that regard. We have the old no bullshit zone around the team, and we've been real fortunate. But every year is different with youth. Every year, who knows what this coming season is going to bring? I don't know. We could be awesome again. We could be 500, and if we're 500, who cares? Who cares? That's the way to be. So, I mean, I believe in the kids having high level expectations. We have it for them. They should have it for themselves. We as a coaching staff believe that it's okay to push them to be very uncomfortable. It's okay to let them know when they're wrong or when they're bad or when they haven't fulfilled. And it's also okay to tell them, look, I'm ticked off, but I still love you. Hey, I tell the kids from day one, I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to give it to you. I still love you. I'm never going to be mad, at you, but I'm going to be upset with you. I'm going to want to know why and to help you figure out the why. So this sounds a little too Tony Little or Tony Robbins. I mean, I'm not trying to go there, but just saying, like, this is how we treat them. We try and teach them systems so they're thinking, not so they're winning. It's just so whenever they go and when they become high school players, they can say, oh yeah, I know what that forecheck is. I know how to handle this back. I know what, and we try and bring them to as high level as possible. And it's great. It's been very, very, very gratifying. I will tell you this though, guys, it gets harder and harder and harder to do as the kids get older. The responsibilities get more, but also just that my job requirements don't allow for, a lot of stuff to happen. Right. So, but no, I love teaching hockey and I love having fun with it. It's great. I mean, it's been great. Like I said, last year, Chris, was an incredibly gratifying year for the kids, for the coaches, and for all the families that we had.
Aside from the teaching systems and teaching them all the ins and outs of the game, what are some values that you try to instill in these kids that they can use during their teenage years and even that they can bring with them to their life?
Respect, obviously. You're not yelling at a coach ever. You're not yelling at an official. You do your sitting. You're not yelling at your parent. You're not at the rink. You're just not. Like, that's not tolerable. We try to have a handshake and hello type thing all the time if we can. I'm not going to say it happens every time, but try to have that. But respect is huge. Preparation is huge. We give them one forgotten item. You're on probation. You forget your glove one game. Well, okay, don't tell me it's your mom's fault, your dad's fault. Who's supposed to pack your bag? Even if they pack it, you get your ass up and you check your bag. And you don't have it, you get one. The next game, you don't play for the whole first period. You don't. We came close, but we didn't. We had a handful of probationary players last year. And they got to the point where they wouldn't say anything. They'd be asking another friend, do you have a sock? Do you have something like that? But we try and treat them that. But there's also a cliche, and will and structure will beat skill, and that's what we try and tell them. I mean, not everybody. There's very few best players, very few, and every kid on my team watches. Every kid in the whole league that we play in Eastern Hockey Federation. What do they watch in the morning, guys? NHL Network, right? The highlights. And what are they seeing on the highlights? The highlights. They're seeing 4% of the game, 3% of the game. They're not seeing the other 97% of the game. Yeah. Right? So execution and structure, and will beat that fancy stuff. And that's what we're trying to teach them too. And so it's the same thing in life. Like, you're all not going to be fancy, whatever, but you all can be incredibly successful people by being prepared and by having the work ethic, the will. That's, and we try to use real life examples for our kids. And they're old enough now, 13. They're starting to get it. They're really a great group of kids. So we've been very fortunate in that regard.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mikey, you got anything?
I got nothing else, Billy. I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on. We've been watching you forever on NESN, NHL Network. I can still remember, getting up from middle school, going downstairs. I used to put DVDs across the little ticker on the bottom, so it didn't spoil. The scores didn't spoil. Yeah, but
that's a smart move. It's a little OCD, but it's smart. It's
a little bit. A little bit. But yeah, Billy, it's been a pleasure, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah, Billy. Honestly, I just want to thank you again for being such a huge advocate for the Stop Soldier Suicide fundraiser. This was an unreal interview. You were our first person we've ever interviewed as a team, so this was unbelievable, and I just want to really thank you.
Well, you guys are welcome. It's a pleasure for me to come on. You caught me at a good time with the not doing much right now. A couple of more weeks with the hip, and hopefully be ready enough. I'm supposed to head over to Europe actually to coach a team. My son will play on in 2.5 weeks or so. So I'm hoping to be all set for that. But to be able to sit and talk hockey is great. I appreciate you having me on. And as I like to say again, it's just hockey. If we can't sit down and bullshit, have a beer, talk about it, then what good is it? Because, it's our passion, and yes, it's some of our livelihoods, but it's just a game. It's an important game to us, but if you can't have fun with it, you can't, do this kind of stuff, then what good is it?
Sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone here at B&G, we wish you a speedy recovery, and we look forward to hearing you during the season.
Well, we're waiting for our schedule to come out with regard to which preseason games we'll do, but we know that the first game is a TNT game already. But I'm not going to speak out of turn here, but I'm going to guess because they're playing the Blackhawks in the first game, and so that Bedard will get. I think Bedard gets the playoff. The national game both Tuesday, his opening night against Pitt, and then the Bruins. I'm going to guess. Just a guess. I know nothing. Literally, no. I'm going to guess that we'll do a full pre and post game around opening night. I hope so.
I thought the TNT would be about the Taylor Hall revenge game, but I guess Bedard got drafted there, so it could be that.
Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno coming back against, and some guy named Bedard.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you again, Billy.
Yeah, thank you, Billy.
All right, guys. Have a great end of the summer. Take care.
Take care.